Hello friends, welcome to TechSummit. This is the second lecture of fluid dynamics. In the previous lectures, we have already discussed about the Euler's equation, Bernoulli's equation. We have also discussed the different forces that are acting on the fluid, correct, when it is in the motion. So, in last lecture, we have also discussed the different form of the Bernoulli's equation, correct? The standard form of the Bernoulli's equation, P by gamma plus V square by twice G plus Z1 is equals to constant. This is the one of the form. Then we also see the different types of form in terms of the density or the pressure, different types of head we have discussed. So in this lecture, we are dealing with the application of the Bernoulli's equation. Okay. So what are the different application of that Bernoulli's equations? We will going to discuss that. Before going to the applications directly, the Bernoulli's equation is actually applied to a section of the flow, correct? Two sections are considered of a fluid flow. This is section first, this is section second. Then this Bernoulli's equation is actually applied between that, okay? Bernoulli's equation is applied between that. So what it states that pressure energy plus kinetic energy plus potential energy is equals to constant. That means I can say that at one location, correct, at section 1 is equals to P by gamma plus V square upon twice G plus Z at section 2 should be equal, correct. But in real fluid, what happens? These fluid particles, when passing through the section, develop friction between them. There is a molecular friction between them. Suppose this is the energy at point 1, so I can say it is E1. This is the energy at section 2, so I can say that this is the E2. And by applying Bernoulli's equation, and this is nothing but the law of conservation of energy, correct? As I am saying that energy at point 1 is equals to energy at point 2. That is, energy at one section remains constant, similarly section 2. So I can say that E1 is equals to E2. But as I am saying now, in case of the real fluids, due to the molecular friction, what happens? Some sort of energy is lost here. Why it is lost? Because the liquid has to overcome the friction, correct? The liquid has to overcome the friction. So some part of the energy is utilized here, correct? It is utilized here to overcome the friction. So this is energy, as I already said, that E1 and E2. So E1 minus that lost energy, correct? This is the lost energy is equals to E2. And this is the equation, and this is the equation for the real fluids. This is the equation for the real fluids. And if I write in terms of E1 by gamma minus EL by gamma is equals to E2 by gamma, that is the energy per unit weight. Energy per unit weight. In the last lecture, I have said that this energy per unit weight quantity is nothing but the head, correct? This energy per unit weight quantity is nothing but the head. So I can say that energy head at point 1, that is at section 1, minus lost energy lost, that is head loss. This is called as the head loss, as I am discussing it about in terms of the head. So energy head at point 1 minus energy lost, correct, that is the head loss, is equals to energy at point 2. So this is the equation of the Bernoulli's when I apply in case of the real fluids. Because in deriving that derivation, the Bernoulli assumes certain, correct na? Bernoulli assumes certain conditions, that is the flow is a real flow, correct? Viscosity is 0. But in actual fluid, this does not happen, okay? There are some restrictions to that equations. Due to the friction between the molecules, sort of the energy is lost. And when I write it in terms of the per unit weight, that I get is the head loss. So I can say that if I apply, this is for the real fluids, what the equation I get, that is P1 by gamma, correct, plus V1 square by twice G plus Z1 is equals to P2 by gamma plus V2 square upon twice G plus Z2 plus, so this is minus here, it goes and becomes plus here, plus energy lost, and that is nothing but the head loss. So this is the equation, that I should apply, when it comes in case of the real fluids. So by using that equation, that assuming law of conservation of the energy, that is the energy remains constant at the two section, there are different applications of Bernoulli's equation. Okay, by using the Bernoulli's equation, there are different applications of that. So we one by one we will discuss about different applications of the Bernoulli's equation. So the very first application is in case of the Venturi meter. The second one is the orifice meter. The third one is the nozzle meter. Some says flow nozzle or nozzle meter. Then the pitot tube. This is one of the important application of the Bernoulli's principle, that is pitot tube. Then again there is a small topic, pitot static tube. Okay, pitot static tube. We will be discussing how these two are different from the each other. So again there is a rotameter that is not that of importance. I will just give an overview about that. Okay, so these are the different application of the Bernoulli's equations, and most of the questions are asked on that application, that is Venturi meter, orifice meter, nozzle meter. In that case, what are the CD, that is coefficient of the discharge, what is the angle of the convergent cone, divergent cone. So these all points we are discussing in this lecture. So this is about the application of the Bernoulli's equation in case of the real fluids. As I said, the first application that we are going to see is the Venturi meter. So consider this is a pipe flow. Okay, this is the pipe, and D is the diameter of that pipe. Now talking about the Venturi meter is actually a small pipe. Okay, this is a short pipe. And that is consisting of one convergent cone, correct? This part is the convergent cone. Then a horizontal portion, this is the throat, and again a divergent part. Okay, and this is nothing but the diverging cone. So Venturi meter is a short pipe that is consisting of a converging cone and a divergent cone, and again a small throat portion is present here. So by applying Bernoulli's principle, so what is that Bernoulli's principle? Bernoulli's principle states that by reducing the cross sectional area, a pressure difference is created. Suppose this is the original cross section area, and now I am going to reduce the cross sectional area. So what it states, that by reducing, this is the A1 is the first cross sectional area, A2 is the second cross sectional area. So by reducing the cross sectional area from A1 to A2, a pressure difference is created. Okay, a pressure difference is created, and this pressure difference enables to measure the rate of flow. This pressure difference enables us to measure the rate of flow flowing through that pipe. So this principle is used everywhere in the application of the Bernoulli's principle. So this is about the principle of the Bernoulli's equations, and now we are going to apply the same in the Venturi meter. So as I have discussed the construction or the physical structure of the Venturi meter, that it consists a converging part here, correct, converging cone, then a throat and a diverging cone. Now if you observe that this convergent angle, okay, this convergent angle is greater than this divergent angle. Okay, this convergent angle is divergent angle. is greater than the divergent angle. So what happens in this condition? Suppose there is a fluid flow, and as the area of cross section is reducing here, okay, the area of cross section is reducing in the convergent part, and if I apply the continuity equation, what is continuity equation states? Continuity equation states that rho 1 a1 v1 is equals to rho 2 a2 v2, correct? So I already assumed that the flow is an incompressible flow, that means the rho remains constant, okay. So whatever equation I get is the a1 v1 is equals to a2 v2, okay. So I can say that if I consider the two sections, okay, I am considering the two sections. The first one is right at the start of that converging part, this is 1 1, and the second section is, I am assuming it at a throat, so I can clearly observe that the diameter here capital D, and the diameter here is the small d, okay. So I can clearly observe that the small d is less than capital D, that means a2 is less than a1, and if this a2 is less than a1, what it implies? It implies that if a2 is less than a1, it implies that velocity at point 2 must be greater than velocity at 1 in order to satisfy this continuity equation. So this is clear that the velocity at point 2 is greater than velocity at point 1, okay. What it indicates? That flow is accelerating in that convergent portion, okay. The flow is accelerating in this convergent portion. Now again consider this is divergent portion, okay, this is the divergent portion, and in that case what happens? The area from throat area, okay, this area from the end of the throat goes on increasing. It implies that velocity is again decreasing, correct? If I apply the continuity equation same as I apply in the first and the second section, the similar if I apply in the second and the third section, if I imply at second and third section, what happens? It states that the velocity is increasing in the divergent portion. That means the flow is decelerating in that direction, okay. From second to third, the flow is decelerating in that direction. That means in order to avoid the flow separation, I need to provide this divergent cone by gradually divergence, correct? I need to provide the gradually divergent in order to take care of that flow separation, okay, That's why this convergent cone angle is greater than the divergent cone angle. So generally in venturimeter, the convergent cone angle is 90 plus minus 1, that is 19 20, okay. 19 20, the convergent angle is 19 20, that means 19 plus minus 1 should be there. And in case of the divergent, this angle, the limit is between 5 degree to 15 degree, but in most of the cases it is necessary, or what we can say here, this is the most used value or preferential when an MCQ is framed on the divergent angle of the venturimeter. Then if number of options are given, then 6 degree is preferable option, okay. The 6 degree is preferable option. So this is about the construction, that is short pipe, a convergent part, throat, and then a divergent part, then here is angle, okay. The angle is 19 plus or minus 1 degree, that is 18 or 20, and then again here is the divergent part with angle 6 degree preferably, okay. Range is between 5 to 15 degree, and this diameter, this is one of the important point here. The diameter of the throat is one of the important point. Why? Because if I reduce the diameter, this diameter to such a low value, okay, then what happens? This pressure at this point, section 2 will be reduced below its vapor pressure. This pressure at this point will be reduced below its vapor pressure, and if the pressure at this point is reduced below the vapor pressure, what will happen? The cavitation phenomenon will be happen. That's why this diameter d should not be reduced to such a small value. It should not be reduced to such a small value. So what is the limit of the d? The limit of the d is given is generally between 1/2. This is given 1/2 to 3/4, 1/2 to 3/4 of the capital D. Okay. So this small diameter d it should be 1/2 to 3/4 of this capital D. Now here I have taken the image. Okay, this is the image of the venturimeter. Here you can clearly see that venturimeter. This is the convergent part, correct? This is the convergent part here. This is the throat. This is the throat, and this one is the divergent part. This is one is the divergent part, and you can clearly see here that the convergent part is relatively shorter in length as compared to the divergent. That means this convergence is carried out in small length. Okay, let me take another pen. So this divergence here in case is carried in a short length, while in this case it is divergence is carried out in the longer portion. This convergent is carried in the small length, and this divergence is carried over a large length. So this is all about the construction or the parameters of the venturimeter. Again, this convergent part length is given, that is, it is between 2.7 d minus d. Around, this is the around value, that is 2.7 into d minus d. So this is the value of the converging part. So this is all about the physical parameters and the constructions of the venturimeter. Now we are going to derive the equation for measuring the rate of flow or the discharge. So I can say that venturimeter is a device which works on the principle of Bernoulli's, correct? Bernoulli's principle. This is works on the Bernoulli's principle, and that is used to measure. This is used to measure the rate of flow. Okay, the rate of flow, and I can say that it is the discharge. So venturimeter is a device that is works on the Bernoulli's principle and is used to measure the rate of flow or the discharge. So we have discussed the different parameters here, the convergent cone, divergent cone. Now we are going to apply this Bernoulli's equation. What is the Bernoulli's equation? That is P1 by gamma plus V1 square upon twice G plus Z1 is equals to P2 by gamma plus V2 square upon twice G plus Z2. Okay. As we are not assuming the losses here. Okay, the head loss is not considered here, as we have provided the divergent cone, and this section at the throat is, okay, second section is taken at the throat, so there is no need to take the head loss. So in that case, what happens, if I consider a horizontal pipe, this Z will be get cancelled, correct? The datum head at section 1 is equals to datum head at section 2. So Z1 will get cancelled. So if I write the pressure terms at one side, pressure energy terms at one side, that is P1 by gamma minus P2 by gamma is equals to V2 square by twice G plus V1 square by twice G. Okay, V1 square by twice G. So as I said that the area, okay, let me draw it a small figure here. So I can, from first point I can say this is the A1, this is the A2, this is the V1, and this is the V2, and in order to satisfy that continuity equation, that is A1 V1 is equals to A2 V2, as this A2 is less than A1, that means V2 is greater than V1. So I can add V2, sorry, here it is minus term. Okay, so V2 square minus V2 square upon twice G minus V1 square by twice G. So V2 is greater than V1. This V2, these terms must be positive, correct, in order to satisfy that continuity equations. So here that I have assumed that P1, so I can say that P1 must be greater than P2, correct? P1 must be greater than P2. So what I did, so what actually Venturi did here, he reduced the cross sectional area of the pipe, correct? He reduced the cross sectional area. So due to that, what happens? The velocity is increased, correct? The velocity at this second portion, is increased. So due to that increase in velocity, a pressure difference is created. And once I measure the pressure difference, I can easily find the discharge. So by using that equation, I can easily find the discharge. There is simple derivation of the venturimeter. Okay, there is simple derivation, and we are going to derive that. So this P1 by gamma minus P2 by gamma, what are these? This is the pressure head, correct? So whatever value here I get, this is nothing but the Venturi head. This is nothing but the Venturi head. This is the important point. Okay, this H is nothing but the Venturi head, and it is nothing but the pressure difference between at point 1, correct? Pressure head at point 1 minus pressure head at point 2. So I can write here H is equals to, this is the important point, remember, Venturi head, H is equals to V2 square upon twice G minus V1 square upon twice G, correct? V2 square upon twice G. Now by continuity equation here, I can say that Q is equals to area into velocity, correct? So I can write that A1 V1 is equals to A2 V2. So if I put these values of the velocity in these equations, okay, now V is equals to, suppose V1 is equals to Q upon A1, correct? And V2 is equals to Q upon A2, correct? V2 is equals to Q2 upon A2. If I put these values in that equation, what is the value of V2? That is Q upon A2, this square. So I can write here A2 square upon twice G, correct? Twice G minus, what is the value of the V1? That is Q upon A1, but here is square, so square into twice G. So this is the equation. So this is the equation that I get when I use the continuity equation, that is H is equals to Q square upon A2 square twice G minus Q square upon A1 square into twice G. So this is twice G common, I can write it as like this. I can write it as twice GH is equals to, I am taking Q square common here, so what I get, 1 upon A2 square, correct? 1 upon A2 square minus 1 upon A1 square, So here again Q square, so if I cross multiply here, that is A1 square minus A2 square upon, here is minus A1 square minus A2 square upon A2 square into A1 square. So twice GH is equals to Q square into A1 square minus A2 square divided by A2 square into A1 square. Now I have to obtain this Q, that is the discharge. So how will I get that? Simply putting Q square is equals to, correct? Q square is equals to twice GH A2 square into A1 square divided by A1 square minus A2 square, correct? So if I have to obtain the Q, I can write that Q is equals to A1 A2 square root of twice GH divided by A1 square minus A2 square raised to 1 by 2. Okay, so this is the equation. For the venturimeter in order to obtain the rate of flow or the discharge. So there are different parameters in the venturimeter. Here we discuss about the convergent cone, okay, divergent cone, throat portion, the length of the throat portion. Then we have also discussed the diameter of the throat should not be such a smaller that the cavitation may occur in that case. So these are the different things we have discussed in the venturimeter. Now the next assumption. So before going to the next application, we are going to discuss about the applying these applying this equation for real, or I can say that actual rate of flow. So this discharge I get is called as theoretical discharge, because I am getting that just by just calculations. Okay, a1 square minus a2 square and its root. So the actual discharge is less than theoretical discharge. It is less than theoretical discharge. And in order to relate these two discharges, that is Q actual and Q theoretical, there is a constant introduced. A constant, and this is nothing but the constant is nothing but the coefficient of discharge. Okay, CD, the coefficient of discharge, and the value of the CD. So if I have to obtain the Q actual, I multiply this CD by this Q theoretical. What is that Q theoretical? A1 A2 square root of twice GH divided by root of A1 square minus A2 square, and this value CD for the venturimeter lies between 0.95 to 0.98. So this is all about the venturimeter. Okay, the next important application of this Bernoulli's principle is the orifice meter. Actually, orifice meter is somewhat similar to venturimeter, but the area is, of course, the principle, as it is based on the principle of the Bernoulli's, the area is reduced here and a pressure difference is created. So there we also assume the section first at this point, and we calculated a pressure head at this point. Okay, and the next point, that is at the throat. But in orifice meter, actually the second section is taken at orifice. Okay, the second section is taken here. So the same derivation that we used in the venturimeter in order to calculate the Q, that is the discharge, is applicable to the orifice meter also. It is applicable to the orifice meter also. So the same equations I can write that Q actual is equals to coefficient of discharge into square A1 A2 square root of twice GH divided by root of A1 square minus A2 square. But here what happens, as you can clearly see here, here is a diagram, you can clearly see that there is no any diverging part. Correct, there is no any diverging part. So due to that what happens, there is a considerable energy loss. So due to that energy loss, what happens, this CD value, in case of the orifice meter, the CD value is much lesser. And this is about 0.6 to 0.65, because there is no particular convergent cone. Okay, here in the orifice there is no particular convergent cone and there is no any divergent cone. So due to that, the CD value here is much lesser. It is much lesser than we calculated in the venturimeter. But then why the orifice is invented? So correct na? If you have the CD value there is greater, you can easily calculate the discharge. The orifice meter also has some advantages. This is the cheaper one as compared to the venturimeter. And second point is it is short in length. It is short as compared to the venturimeter, because in orifice, suppose I draw the section 2 here. It consists of the plate. This is a simple plate. Okay, this is simple plate, and that is concentric with this plate is, suppose this is the orifice section and this is the plate here. So this is the plate, it has certain flange this is for the arrangement of the flange. So if this is the pipe here, this is section 1 of the pipe, this is section 2. Okay, so this is simple plate, and it is concentric with the pipe. it is concentric with the pipe. So there is no such arrangement that is required for the venturi meter, such as a convergent portion, then throat, and a divergent portion. In case orifice meter, it consists of a single plate, and it is there provided the sharp edges. It is provided with the sharp edges. So the energy loss in that case is much as compared to the venturi meter, and the derivation that we obtain for the venturi meter is same can we apply or we use in case of the orifice meter. Just this is the section 2. This portion has to consider the section 2. Actually it is desirable to use this portion. What is that portion called as? This portion is called as vena contracta, correct? This portion is called as vena contracta. What is vena contracta? The vena contracta, here the streamlines converges. Okay, suppose this is the streamlines of the pipe. So these converges at a certain point beyond the orifice. As you can see here clearly, this is the orifice size, correct? And this is converges beyond the orifice. So this is the area of the less cross section. But it is not possible to calculate the area at this point. Okay, it is impossible to calculate the area at this point. So for calculation purpose, the area of the orifice, okay, the area at the orifice is taken for the calculating of the discharge. So this is about the orifice meter. Again, in orifice meter, as I said here, CD, again the A2 is the area of orifice, okay, and again the third area I am considering here at the vena contracta, that is A3 is the area at vena contracta. So what I said before, that the streamlines are converging, correct? That means the area at this point, that is A3, is less than A2, correct? This A3 is less than A2. So there comes a new term, and that is nothing but Cc is equals to coefficient of contraction, and it is given by Cc is equals to this A3 divided by A2, okay, A3 divided by A2, this A3 divided by A2, and this value of the coefficient of the contraction is 0.6 to 0.69. This value is between 0.6 to 0.69. This is the Cc, that is the coefficient of contraction. This is the area at vena contracta. This area at the vena contracta divided by the area of the orifice, we will get the coefficient of the contraction. And this CD, that is the coefficient of discharge, is equals to Cc into Cv, and what is that Cv? Cv is coefficient of velocity, and that is nothing but equal to actual velocity divided by theoretical velocity. So this is the equation that you need to remember always, okay? CD is equals to Cc into Cv. Then what is the Cc? Cc is nothing but the area. This is the area at vena contracta divided by orifice area, correct? Divided by orifice area. Then what is the value of the Cc? The value of the Cc is 0.6 to 0.69. What is the value of the CD for the orifice meter? The value of the CD for orifice meter is, so the value of CD, as we said, that it is between 0.6 to 0.65, correct? The value of Cc is between 0.6 to 0.69, and the value of C, that is the coefficient of velocity, as I discuss here, it is 0.98. it is 0.98. So these are some of the important values regarding the, or as considering the syllabus of the MPSC. So questions may be framed directly on that, what is the value of coefficient of discharge for an orifice, okay, or the what is the value of the coefficient of contraction for the orifice meter, again what is the value of the coefficient of velocity. So these are the points that you should remember, remember regarding the exam point of view. This is the about orifice meter. Now the third application of the Bernoulli's principle, if you apply the Bernoulli's equation and the Bernoulli's principle, the third application is the nozzle meter, or some says as a flow nozzle, okay, flow nozzle. This is similar to Venturi meter. As you can see here, the diagram drawn, I have drawn already, that here is short pipe, correct, this is the convergent cone. What is the difference between Venturi meter and nozzle meter? As you clearly can see here, that is the divergent portion, the divergent cone part is omitted here, correct. The divergent cone part is actually omitted here, and the area similar section is taken. This is A2, this is A1, one pressure head is counted here, another pressure is counted at this point. Whatever the pressure difference, this pressure difference enables us to count the Q, that is the discharge. So this is all about the nozzle meter. There is no more regarding the nozzle meter, or questions may not be asked on the nozzle meter, as it is not that much important point. However, I am giving here some of the important values, that is the C here, again coefficient of the contraction. As you can see here, there is also the reduction in the area. So there is coefficient of the contraction. Is there any reduction in the nozzle meter? No, in the nozzle meter there is not any reduction. There is no reduction. So the value of the CC here, is 1. Value of the CC here is 1. And I already said that it is similar to Venturi meter, and we are not considering the second portion, the portion on the right side of here. So the value of the CD also remains almost same as that of the Venturi meter. And what is the value? That is the 0.96. So the value of coefficient of velocity here comes is between 0.95 to 0.98. So this is about the nozzle meter, okay, this is about the nozzle meter. Then this is the important table, okay, this is the important table, as I have already discussed that different values of the CD, CC and CV, okay, different values of CD, CC and CV. And here a comparison is made between Venturi meter, orifice meter and a flow nozzle. What are the different parameters I have right here? That is the head loss, initial cost, coefficient of discharge, coefficient of contraction and coefficient of the velocity. The value of the coefficient of velocity is almost remains same, that is between 0.95 to 0.9, and in all of the cases, so there is no need to worry about that. The important points are these parameters and these value. Now if you look at the Venturi meter, what I have said, it consists a convergent part, correct, a throat, and then a divergent part. So the losses in the energy are much less. So this is the low energy losses, low head loss. Then in case of the orifice meter, as there is no any special converging or diverging part, the energy losses are much more because their wakes are formed, correct. This is the orifice, suppose, and this is the streamlines. Then what happens? Eddies are formed there. These are the eddies, and this is the wake region. So there is much more energy loss as compared to the Venturi meter, and hence the head loss is more. This head loss is more in case of the orifice meter. The flow nozzle as just the divergent part is neglected, so the head loss here is intermediate as compared to the venturimeter and the orifice meter. Then initial cost, the initial cost of the venturimeter is high. Okay, the initial cost of venturimeter is high. Orifice meter is much lesser. Okay, orifice meter is cheaper, it is cheaper as compared to the venturimeter, and same in the case of the flow nozzle, it carries the intermediate values. Then CD, coefficient of discharge, this is the important point, and you must remember the CD value of all of these. Okay, all of these. So what are the CD value of the venturimeter? It is between 0.95 to 0.98. Make a note on that values of the CD, so that you can remember them. For the orifice meter, it is 0.6 to 0.65. It is between 0.6 to 0.65, and for flow nozzle it is between 0.95 to 0.98, as it is similar to the venturimeter. Similarly, values of CC, as I said, in case of the venturimeter, the flow is well streamlined along the pipe portion. Okay, it is well streamlined along the pipe portion. This streamline passes well. In case of the orifice meter, in case of only the orifice, the wake region is formed. Okay, this wake region is formed, and there is a formation of the vena contracta. So the value CC comes here, that is the coefficient of contraction, and the value is lies between 0.6 to 0.69. For flow nozzle, of course, if you see venturimeter and flow nozzle, there are no necessary of the coefficient of the contraction, and this value, that is coefficient of velocity, is always remains the same for all the cases. Now this is all about the applications in terms of the all the applications are in term of the flow measurement, that is discharge measurement. Okay, discharge measurement. These devices are used to measure the discharge through pipes. So these are the applications of the Bernoulli's equation, depending on its principle, that is the conservation of the energy, because in each cases I apply the Bernoulli's principle and equation at the two sections, so that I get the equation. So this is all about the venturimeter, orifice meter, and flow nozzle. Now the next important application is the pitot tube. What is the use of the pitot tube then? Pitot tube is used to measure velocity. It is used to measure velocity at a point. This is important point. Most times the questions are asked on this use of pitot tube. So it is used to measure the velocity at a point. This is a simple, the construction of the pitot tube is much simple. It is nothing but a glass tube. Okay, sorry, let me draw it again. This is the construction of the pitot tube. This is nothing but a small tube of the glass. Okay, this is the small tube of the glass that is inserted in the direction of the flow. Okay, this is inserted in the direction of the flow. Let me draw it clear here. So this is a simple glass tube that is bent at 90-degree angle. Okay, this is a glass tube that is bent at 90-degree angle. Suppose this is the flow of the fluid. This is the flow of the fluid in this direction. So it is directed, it is open towards the upstream side. So whatever flows comes, it enters through this tube, through these openings. Okay, through these openings it enters into the tube. So due to that, what happens, the fluid in the motion gets rise to a certain level. Okay, this is rise to a certain level, And if I introduce a piezometer tube here, a piezometer tube, suppose a piezometer tube is inserted here. So why the piezometer tube is used? By using the piezometer tube, the pressure head at that point is calculated, correct? What is the pressure head at that point? That is the P by gamma, correct? As the datum Z is same in both the cases, this is the P by gamma, that is the pressure head. Now the principle behind the pitot tube is that when a flowing fluid, this is the flowing fluid, is brought to rest, this flowing fluid if brought to rest, then there is a rise in the liquid. Okay, there is the rise in the liquid, and the value of the rise, that is the value of the rise, or what I can say as head, the value of the rise or head is nothing but the kinetic head. Okay, the kinetic head. So this is nothing but the value of the kinetic head, that is the kinetic energy. The kinetic energy of a fluid gets converted into the potential energy. The kinetic energy of the fluid gets converted into the potential energy, and so there is rise in the head, because the P by gamma value remains constant wherever you go, at this position or this position or this position. This P by gamma value, that is the pressure head, remains same, and this kinetic head, so I can easily say that if this is the height h, I can say that h is equals to V1 square upon twice g. Why? Because if I consider a section here, suppose this is section 1 and again a section 2 is here inside the pitot tube, this is the section 2. Now the velocity, as the velocity head is converted into the potential head, correct? So that means the velocity at this point 2 is equals to 0. Z is same in both the cases. So if I apply Bernoulli's equation at first point, that is P1 by gamma plus V1 square upon twice g plus Z1 is equals to P2 by gamma plus V2 square upon twice g plus Z2. Now here in this case, this Z1 Z2 get cancelled, okay, as there is same datum. Then P1 by gamma, and this value I can say that is P1 by gamma plus small h, correct? I am writing in terms of head and this is the small h, so P1 by gamma plus h. So this P1 by gamma and this P1 by gamma get cancelled. Again V2 velocity at this point, correct? Velocity at this point, as it is converted into potential energy, so it is 0, correct? It is 0. So what I get, h, this equation, that is h is equals to V1 square upon twice g, or I can say that V1 is equals to square root of twice gh, correct? V1 is equal to square root of twice gh. And here is one important point, that is the section I have considered here too, where the velocity is 0. This point is nothing but stagnation point. Okay, this point is nothing but the stagnation point. So by using the pitot tube, the velocity at a point in a fluid flow can be measured. So here we discuss about the construction of the pitot tube, physical parameters of it, then how the kinetic energy is converted into the potential energy, and we get that kinetic head in terms of h. Okay, and this h value is given by V1 square upon twice g, so I get V1 is equals to square root of twice gh. Again CV is introduced here, correct? CV is introduced here, and you all know that CV is the actual velocity divided by the theoretical velocity, actual velocity divided by the theoretical velocity. And this value CV, as I said already, it is 0.98. In most of the cases it is in between 0.95 to 0.99, and in this case pitot tube, this is 0.98. So this is about the pitot tube. Okay, this is about the pitot tube. Now there is one more point, there is one more important point. Now the next important point is the pitot static tube. pitot static tube. So what is the difference between pitot tube and pitot static tube? It is also, pitot static tube is also called as Prandtl tube. Okay, Prandtl tube. So the difference between pitot tube and pitot static tube is that this pitot tube is used only when there is a streamline flow. Okay, there is a streamline flow, and when there is a curved flow, when there is a curved flow or curved streamlines, then in that case we uses the pitot static tube. The construction of pitot static tube is similar, it is similar to the pitot tube, just the difference is that there are two tubes. Okay, there are, sorry, it is not closed here, there are two tubes. Suppose this is tube A, this is tube A, and it is surrounded by tube B. This is surrounded by tube B. So there are two tubes. Okay, there are two tubes, and tube 1 is surrounded by tube 2. So in that case, what happens? The tube A, it measures, tube A measures the static head, and this tube B, this is tube B, it measures the kinematic head. Okay, kinematic head. So difference between these two, so the difference between these two gives the velocity, correct, velocity head, and this is nothing but the h. So same formula can we use here? Of course, the same formula we can use here, that is velocity is equals to cv into square root of twice gh. V is equals to cv into square root of twice gh. So this is about the application of the Bernoulli's equation. Okay, these all are the applications of the Bernoulli's equation. So what we discussed so far in these lectures, the applications, the first one venturi meter, okay, the next is the orifice meter, then nozzle meter, after that pitot static tube. Okay, before pitot static tube we have discussed about the pitot tube. So in the next lecture we are going to cover the vortex motion. Okay, vortex motion, then types of the vortex motion, their examples, MCQs may be framed on that motion. Okay, after that we will be dealing with the kinetic energy correction factor and the momentum correction factor. These are the correction factors is also one of the important point regarding the MPSC point of view. So for today we will end here. So for more updates, stay tuned with us. Our Telegram channel is there, Texamit. Also these demo lectures will be available on the YouTube, and you can purchase the course from our Google Play Store app named Texamit. Okay, thank you.